Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and out of the ring, doing acts of community service and charity work, inspiring others, helping others. We're all about positivity here on the show, and I've got a very special guest with me today. He is a ring announcer, has announced for several different independent promotions. He is the director of communications and media, as well as talent relations of King Enterprises, and is the podcast host for the Wrestling Wire. I'd like to welcome Ron Emerson Jr. to Wrestling with Heart. Ron, thank you for coming on.
Man, thank you so much for having me, sir.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So, Ron, tell me about your childhood. Where'd you grow up?
Man, I grew up in Southern Maryland. So, Chesapeake Bay, Potomac River, all that, outdoors was the way when I was a kid. Fishing mainly was what I liked to do. As I got older, got into skateboarding, and I was always a professional wrestling fan. Ended up down here in the Carolinas for work back in 2014. And I literally tell everybody, man, that I fell butt backwards into professional wrestling because I did. I sustained an injury at work. I fell off of a extension ladder, landed on the back of my head and neck. I was out of commission for 9 months. In that period of time, I had nothing better to do but sit in this recliner because I was uncomfortable everywhere else I went. And I ended up writing topic conversation posts and memes and things like that to do with professional wrestling. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
That's really cool. Southern Maryland. Here's funny story here. I actually, being born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee, I actually grew up in Maryland as a kid. I spent, a good chunk of my childhood up there. I grew up in the northern part of Maryland, so DC, around Rockville, Bethesda, in that area. So I would take trips to Baltimore. I'd go to the harbor. I think I went to Ocean City maybe once or twice, but that's really cool that we have that in common.
Right. I've did a lot of work in Rockville, Bethesda, Potomac, Maryland. Because I used to work out of an office just outside of Baltimore. I think it was Columbia, right by the Meriwether Post Pavilion.
Yep.
I don't know if you know about that place.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, been to Ocean City a couple times. See, I'm talking about down St. Mary's County way, like way down at the bottom of the state. That's where I was. But I was born right outside of DC. So
nice.
Man, it's a nice place. I don't mind visiting. I don't like the traffic, but I love the food. So they got some great food up there.
Can't go wrong with the crabs.
Oh no,
can't, man.
Not at all.
Baltimore is such a really awesome wrestling town. Lots of history there. WCW, WWE, a lot of shows taking place at the Baltimore Arena. Just chock full of memories.
Well, right before Ring of Honor was bought by AEW, it was last pretty much stationed in Baltimore, as well as you've got Maryland Championship Wrestling up there now, and they do a lot of events. What's that, Joppa area out of Baltimore. I've got friends that Hoss Haygood's up there in Glen Burnie area right now. He'll be down here in Silva, not far from Tennessee. I'll be in Silva in May.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to catch up because there's another thing. I'm coming to Tennessee in May as well. I'll be in Tennessee on the 13th in Pigeon Forge. So I think you're gonna have to come down here and check out Heroes and Legends on the 13th, or come check out Heroes 2 Legends on the 6th.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the area.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to check it out. Okay. So you're a professional wrestling fan, born, bred. What got you hooked?
Back then, it was the underdog story with Bret Hart. Probably was one of my favorite ones growing up. And I was always a big Bret Hart fan. And I've always cared. As I've gotten older, I've gone more to the brawler style. Has been what I prefer to watch. You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin and things like that. But what got me hooked back in the day was just it had everything. You had it all. You had the funny spots with Doink the Clown. You know, you had the insults being hurled from HBK. You had the scary factor with the Undertaker. You had the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. You know, the ultimate good guys. Guys like that, larger than life personalities, just drew me into it. It's like watching a movie that never ends.
It's a good way to put it too. I mean, it has something for everybody, whether you're young or old. It's just great entertainment. There's just nothing like it.
It is the greatest variety show. You can find something for everybody there. It doesn't matter what indie show you go to, what television show you watch, you will find something on all of them that you can enjoy or relate to. And that's the point of it. The point of professional wrestling, in my opinion, is the escape from your own reality, your monotonous life, and you're getting away from that for those couple hours watching TV or sitting in the crowd being a fan.
No, definitely. Which experience do you prefer? Do you prefer the sold out arenas like the WWE style, or do you prefer the indie style?
So if I'm watching a show on television, I prefer to watch the WWE product, the grandeur, the pageantry, the to me the production value is there. Is That's it. That's like watching Marvel. You know, it's the top tier in my book. If I'm working a show on the indies, man, I've worked shows. I've worked shows in front of 7 people. I've worked shows in front of 200 and 307 people. You know, but as long as the crowd's live and they're having a good time, I you always want a full house. But
Sure.
the reality is, as long as the people that are there entertain and interact back and forth with you, especially as an announcer, you don't do but so much. You watch the guys on WWE or AEW, they don't do a lot of interacting back and forth with the crowd. Well, on the indie scene, we do. We do a bit more fan interaction. So even if there's 7 people, I will find somebody in that crowd that'll give me what they want. And we'll back and forth it and it's fine.
Yeah, it's very intimate. You don't get that
Yes.
experience, when you're at a Raw or SmackDown taping.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, it is a variety show, something for everybody to enjoy. Who are like some of the people that you almost like idolized growing up, favorites to watch?
Favorites to watch. I mean, from era to era, it's going to be Bret Hart, HBK, Shawn Michaels. We got 2 careers out of that man. If you want to look at it in my book, you got 2 careers from Shawn Michaels. You got the before he got saved and after he got saved, and both of them were fantastic. Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was always entertained with The Rock, but I wouldn't go as far as to say he was one of my favorites. Triple H was always that mind game guy, so you had to think to watch him. You couldn't just sit there like a drone. You had to pay attention. Edge is I'm so grateful that Edge is back. Even in the limited capacity that we have him, it's still Edge. Yet again, a smart wrestler, very smart on the microphone. He can draw you in with his facial expressions. You know, we live in a time, man, where you've got access to everybody and everything out there with social media and everything else. So, looking at what we have now with like the Undertaker doing speaking, candidly, as opposed to speaking as the Undertaker, he's speaking as Mark Calloway. You get the one man dead shows or one dead man shows or whatever it's called, and you get to hear all the stories. I don't think there's a better person with a microphone in their hand breathing today than Paul Heyman. And that's period. And that doesn't, I don't care what company, I don't care what country, I don't care what language. There is nobody with a microphone in their hand better than Paul Heyman.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Hands down, probably the best manager I would say, in the last 10, 15 years. I mean,
Uh,
he's done it for years prior to that. But in talking about, this past decade, I would definitely say Paul Heyman has nailed the roles that he's been given, and
I've yeah,
it's
I've
straight from the heart too.
it is. I've gone as far to say that Paul Heyman is the greatest of all time when it came to managers. And that's not to discredit Bobby the Brain Heenan or anybody else who was a manager out there, because we did a show not long ago where it was a bunch of podcasters in the area. We do this thing called the Roundtable Rumble, and we'll have 5 or 6 topics and 6 to 10 people in this chat room, like you and I are in now, and we go around the table and everybody gives an answer, and we all kind of discuss back and forth. We heard so many great names, but in my book, it's just Paul Heyman. That's the one that in my book has done the most out there. And look at his run of consistency in his latest run that he's had between Brock and Show and Punk and Brock and Roman, and the line that he's towed. It's unreal. His
Oh yeah,
relevance is unreal.
it is. I mean, if you ask me, I think he's more than deserving of an induction in the Hall of Fame, uh, just for the sheer magnitude of his work. And not. I mean, when you think of Paul Heyman, a lot of people may think of his ECW, run or his days running ECW, but like he was a manager in, was it AWA? I know he was in WCW, you know, and then of course he went to WWE after ECW had closed. But just the influence that he's had on the business just really is amazing to see.
Right.
Amazing to see. Well, speaking of announcing and let's talk about you. Like what got you into, or was there a moment, I guess I should say, was there a moment that in your head like said, this is what I want to do?
So here's how my, indie start came about. I have a mutual friend who has a mutual friend at work, and they always talked wrestling. Now, this guy and I have attended shows together. We went to NXT together when they were here in Spartanburg, and we loved it. We were 4 rows from the ring. We sat right behind where commentary would be. I mean, it was a great experience. It was an awesome show. One of the FTR guys, it was where he got his jaw broke by Shinsuke Nakamura.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Roode was there. It was a good show, solid. Uh, anyway, he got to talking with the guy at work, saying, "Man, you need to check out my buddy. He makes all these wild memes and does all these conversation posts. I bet you he would get involved with this charity show you're getting ready to do. I bet you he'd do it for nothing. I bet you he would just love to do it." Well, we ended up talking back and forth, and he pretty much told me the guy's name is Kylan Disney. He's a referee here in the Carolinas. Great man. Really is a really nice man. Um, we ended up talking. He basically told me, he said, "You know what, buddy? You put your money where your mouth is." I was like, "No problem, Jack." I said, "You want to give me some flyers, or what do you want me to do?" He goes, "Well, you're just going to promote the show. I'll send you the flyers here. You just share them online." And I was like, "Hey, man, you want me to go to the place where you're going to have the Barbarian and Lodi show up and sign autographs? You want me to go there and film a commercial for it?" He was like, "You'll do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care. Sure, go ahead. I got you." So I just went and filmed a commercial, made it real quick, and bloop, here it is. And we kept sharing that video saying, "Come here to this oil change spot, get your oil changed while you're here, meeting the stars, meeting Lodi and meeting Barbarian." So it was neat.
Yeah.
Um, all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, we should broadcast this charity show out live." I was like, "Perfect. Give me the GoFundMe, and I'll even put the GoFundMe on the video." That never happened. They never even created a GoFundMe for the guy. but it was a cancer benefit. Well, we're filming an outro. The ring announcer was in there, Bill Hazelwood, the guy who booked the show out, Kylan Disney was there, and myself. Um, and our mutual friend was my camera guy that night. So it worked out. It's 4 hours of me doing really bad commentary, is what I'm going to tell you, because that was my first time being at an indie show, my first time ever doing commentary or anything like that. I was dumbfounded. I had no idea what to do, but especially doing it alone. Think about this: doing commentary alone is got to be, you got nobody to talk to. You're
Yeah.
essentially talking to yourself. I'm not
Right.
Joey Styles. I am not Joey Styles. I never would claim to be. That dude was phenomenal. Um, but so all of a sudden we're at the end of the show, and I had already told him I'm not accepting anything for this. I don't want anything for this. This is charity, man, and it's a cancer benefit. And cancer hits me really close to home. I have buried both of my parents to cancer.
Oh, man.
So right.
Sad.
I was 18. I had just turned 18 when my dad passed away. And then 6 years later, my mom passed. Oh, and then when I say 6 years and 7 days later,
Wow.
or wait a minute, I can't count. 5 years and 7 days later. Sorry, 5 years and 7 days later, she passed away. So,
That's
right, you got to think. 18 years old, you're an adult, but you don't know anything at
right.
18.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
so and my dad was always both my parents were heavily involved in charity work, the American Legion Post and veterans things, and I always was contributing to those events that they were in. So I always knew to give back. Anyway, so we're standing there cutting this video at the end of the show, thanking everybody for tuning in and thanking everybody for being a part and supporting it and everything else. And they hand me an envelope, and I don't know what this is. You've taken this back. I didn't understand what the envelope was. I don't know what was in it. I know that it was not thin. I know that much. But that's not for me. I did this for this guy. And me and my buddy who did the recording, him and I went and got something to eat afterwards, just him and I, and hung out and talked about everything. But I'm not here to get paid. This is not why I'm here. That was my first thing. That was in 2019. 2 months later, my phone rings, or not even 2 months later, my phone rings. Hey, how do you feel about ring announcing? Never done it before, but I've had a live microphone in my hand in front of a crowd, so I'm not bashful. I can give it a go. I started DJing when I was 16 years old. So I played music and did the wedding introductions and all that mess in front of the guests. I wasn't really bashful, so it fit. Man, first time I ever got in that ring, and I was like, "What did I sign up for?" Uh, First show, I mean, I didn't make any major errors. It's just you could tell I was stiff as a board. And now it's like you wouldn't. It's not even the same person in the ring anymore. I've only done a couple of charity shows because it's whenever a charity show is going on that I can get involved in, I'm there, uh, or there to help them. I was recently reached out to about one coming up, and I told this lady, I said, I don't need to be on the card. I don't need to be booked. I don't need to ring announce this thing. Let me know what I can do to help you, because this is for a cause. I don't I don't need all the I don't need all the publicity out. It's not I'm not here for this. I don't do professional wrestling as a career. Okay? I do this as a hobby that I take seriously and enjoy. I'll put 450 500 miles on my car in a weekend going to one show. Been there, done that. That doesn't phase me. I'm here because I enjoy it. I got another chance, and this was the ring announcing I did as for a charity was just last year. Yeah, last year, definitely last year, because we're not too far into this year. It's a young man who's got cancer, and I knew what it was when we were getting there. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to handle everything. Well, they wanted me to kind of say something and interact and thank him for being here. And I looked at this guy, and I could look at him and tell he wasn't feeling all that great. It was hot. He had gotten overheated. When you're going through chemo and all this mess, you know how it is.
Oh yeah.
Well, I started to crack because my memories of my past and me in this ring in front of all these people. And I'm like, I just want to tell you good luck. That's it, because I can't say any more than that right now. And I had this shirt in my pocket, and I was like, by the way, y'all, do yourself a favor, buy you one of these shirts, and you can have any of the ones they got over there on that table, but you're not getting this one because this one's mine. And I put it back in my pocket. When I got out the ring that time, I walked over to the table where they were selling them. I just put my money down. Show goes on, show ends. And apparently the family had told the promoter, you be sure all those guys get paid their numbers that they normally get paid. Here, take it. And I walked over, they handed me mine. I'm like, what? No, I don't work for charity shows. Here, take this. I'm not accepting no money. I'm here for him, man. I'm not here for this. If it was about money, I wouldn't be here. I'm not here because of the money. I'm here because I love this.
Yeah, I mean, you're very passionate about what you do, and like you said, this is not something you're doing for money. You're doing this because you love it and you enjoy professional wrestling, and you've been a fan, since you were a kid. And so that's a labor of love, and that should be taken seriously, and not something that should be, taken for granted. So kudos to you for standing up for your beliefs. But ring announcing and commentary, I mean, that's a different side of the business that a lot of people don't know 100% about it. Tell me about your influences as far as announcing goes. It could be commentators, it could be ring announcers. What's your style like?
So when I first got in, I was working for a company called Classic Pro Wrestling, and they were old school style. So I went and researched the greatest of all time, and that's Howard the Finkelstein. Finkelstein.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that was my delivery in the beginning. That was my cadence and everything. I even tried to have his timing right. I didn't get it, but I like to think that was how I envisioned the style. Now, some shows want you to announce over the music. That can be done, but you've got to have a really nice sound system and really good microphones for that to work properly. And I can tell by the microphone and headphone setup that I see on you that you understand, audio engineering as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm an audiophile. I'm a fanatic about audio video quality. So I prefer you get me in the ring, you get the wrestlers in the ring, and we have both of them in there. And I give you everything you want. Whatever the wrestlers tell me they want is what they're going to get. If they want, I'm from up the damn street, that's what I'm saying, because that's literally one person's entrance. That's legitimately what he said, where he says he's from every time.
Oh, wow.
Unless we're at a school and then he changes it. I will correct that. Unless we're someplace where you're not supposed to say that word, then we don't.
Yeah, I gotta keep it clean for the kids,
right?
In the audience.
Yeah, that's definitely not any of my shows. I don't. I do and say as I please. I try to be respectful for everybody else, but when it comes to me and my content, I'm my own monster. So that's the way I look at it.
Sure.
I'm from an area where they talk fast and everybody's considered an a-hole. So when you come to the South and the Bible Belt, you're going to be looked at like you're Satan's spawn. So, but as it's progressed, I started watching the UFC announcer, Buffer, and seeing the energy that he put into it and seeing the reaction he got from the crowd. And I was like, hold up, combine it. So I combined the classic style with the delivery of the new age. And to me, it seems to work out the best. Occasionally, I throw in something quirky. I got to introduce Ricky Morton. Uh, Ricky and Carrie did a charity show. I forgot about this one entirely. We did a school charity benefit, like back to school, where we were
Yeah.
raising money for the
Mhm,
kids,
mhm.
or bring a
Yeah.
book bag, get in for wrestling
Sure.
type of thing. I completely forgot about that. We did that in Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, Ricky Morton's there, Carrie Morton's there, Sam Houston is there, Bobby Fulton, Jackie Fulton, they're there. George South is in the house. I mean, like, just
A star-studded lineup.
the legends of the Southeast wrestling scene are there, and these guys are known worldwide. Uh, but we were there, man. I said, look, I don't even need to introduce this man because everybody in here already knows who it is, but I'm going to try it anyway. That was legitimately what I said to the crowd. And I didn't write anything down for Ricky. Nothing. I did everything from here because I wanted them, the audience, to be as enthusiastic and infatuated as I was.
I mean, when you go to a wrestling show, it's hard to not get energized because you're in an event where it's the adrenaline picks up. I mean, that's anywhere you go, whether you're at a WWE or AEW show or an indie show. I mean, you're there and you hear music in the background and you got people on their feet. I mean, it just comes with the territory, literally.
Right. Um, but getting to introduce him, I when I got out of the ring that time, I had to step outside because I'm standing and George South and Sam Houston ended up talking to me while I was outside. And I said, if my brothers could see me, I'm the youngest of five. I said, if my brothers could see me standing here with you and him after just doing that with Ricky Morton in the ring, uh, they'd be on the floor. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know what to say to me. So as quickly as I could, I got the footage sent to me probably about a week later, and I sent it to both of them. I'm like, hey, so I did something that was kind of cool, guys. I'm gonna let y'all see it before the rest of the world here. I sent it straight to them, and they lost their mind. They thought it was the coolest thing because those were guys that they watched when they were growing up.
Yeah,
So
it's generational.
right,
Um, who are some of the other people that you've bumped into over the years?
I have worked around JD Drake. I've been his cameraman from AEW. Been his cameraman for a couple shows. I have worked a few times with Effie. If you ever get the chance to see Effie in person, the energy that comes from him the moment he gets in a ring will charge you up. It is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. I was standing in the ring looking at, let's call a spade here. There's a roaming cam on the ground. There's a hard cam planted over there. I'm looking into the hard cam. Effie comes in right behind me and he says it in the back of my head. I effing love this. And when he fired up right behind me, I was just like, it was just a shock of adrenaline. It's like, oh my Lord, you're fully charged. So being in the ring with him was great. Lodi, I've been around a bunch. Man, I'm sure there's more. Colby Carino, been around him a handful of times. I actually did camera work one night under High Spots. Their camera guy didn't show up, and I happened to be there. And they said, "Hey, man, do you want to work tonight?" I said, "Sure. What do you need?" They said, "Put on this headset and hold this camera. We will tell you where to be. Go for it." I'm like, perfect. So that worked out for me.
Yeah.
We're talking Nick Aldis. We're talking, um, the NWA Women's Champion. I can see her, Camille. Her husband was there. Dude, I met and saw so many people this was all at the Gathering in Charlotte. That's an annual event that's hosted. It's a 4-day wrestling convention held in Charlotte every year. It's coming up in August. The lineup for this year looks ridiculous, but I got to walk up to Vampiro and say, "Hey, man, look, you look great. I know you've been dealing with health stuff, but you look great, and thank you. Just thank you for the memories of my childhood because I remember seeing Vampiro as a kid. You know, can't think of that dude's name either. There's so many of them. I can't think of everybody's name,
Yeah.
but man, you get around, you get to hanging around Lodi, and Lodi will start making jokes on you. Within 3 minutes, if he likes you, he's making jokes on you. So just be ready for that. If you ever get around Lodi, uh, Lodi's a great guy. Uh, man, I know I'm forgetting people. That's the bad part.
Last year I went to both WrestleMania and SummerSlam because SummerSlam was held in Nashville, and so I went to WrestleCon, uh, had a real good time there, and I also went to StarCast the weekend of WrestleMania, weekend of SummerSlam. Uh, that was at the fairgrounds. It was just jam packed. I mean, so many people coming from around the world to not only see good wrestling but actually get to meet several of their favorites.
Yeah.
How awesome is that? I mean,
So there's been this debate going on about take the picture, take the picture. Look, realistically, I'm there to do a task, and I've tried to do my task to the best of my ability. If I get a chance to take a picture, or if I get a chance to take a video or catch a word with somebody, I just take that experience and love it. It's not about. I'm not going to sit here and share a picture of me standing next to JD Drake from AEW trying to pull clout or whatever. That's for me. I'll be honest with you. It's in the other room right now. My daughter's got a book, and I'm not a fan of the guy who wrote the book, so I'm not going to name his name, but it's a wrestling book. And she takes it to all the shows that she goes to with me, and she will get signatures from anybody and everybody. Seeing them interact with her, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need it. That is way more important to me because she is a lifer now. At the age of 10, this little girl's got 5 or 6 pages of autographs from everywhere from TV stars to brand new indie guys. And she loves it. She thinks it's the coolest thing to see her dad get in there with these guys and ladies and these women. Especially here on the indie scene, we've got a handful of really talented young ladies that the impression that they give to these young kids is fantastic.
when you started announcing, how hard was it for you to get your license?
Pay the commission. That's it. You pay the commission, their money, and it's over.
Really?
Yeah, you send them. Uh, let's see. You send them the cash. You fill out a form. You have that form notarized by a notary, and that's it.
Oh,
You don't have
just
to
an
do anything.
easy process.
It's a it is a in my opinion, I think it's a BS process.
Hmm.
And here's why I say that. Do you guys have an athletics commission there in Tennessee where
I'm pretty
the
sure we
wrestlers
do.
have to get
Yes.
licensed and
I'm
stuff?
I'm pretty sure we do. Yes.
Okay, so in North Carolina you don't need a license, and in Georgia you don't need a license to be a professional wrestler or an entity thereof. In South Carolina you have to have a license to do absolutely anything. However, the commission is supposed to have reps at shows, do safety checks, do checks on, you know, do you have a guardrail? Do
Mhm.
you have medical staff? Do you have this? Do you have that? Oh, there's blood. You have 90 seconds to go home when there's blood, unless you can stop the bleeding. Which I've played it off we had a guy get cut over his eye. Uh, ooh, God, it's been almost a year now. Um, he got cut right over the eye. Doc came in, and that's literally what we call him. We call him Doc. Uh,
Oh, cool.
whenever dude, Doc's been to my house drinking beer and smoking cigars. Like we hang out. You know what I mean? We've run the roads together to go to shows where he's medical staff or he's part of an entourage or whatever the case may be. But he's a licensed. He's an actual EMT. Like
Mm.
so, he's real. He's not just somebody playing Dr. Seuss. He's an actual guy who knows how to medically take care of you. He used all of his gauze and everything to try to get somebody's bleeding to stop.
Hmm.
Well, I got in the ring and I was like, all right, guys, listen, we're going to take it down a notch after that one. And the referee said, oh, no, we're going to keep that going. And I had moved the microphone to in between us. And I was like, Doc just used all of his medical supplies to stop the bleeding from the kid, the last one. We can't keep doing this.
Huh.
And the crowd is sitting there like, oh my gosh, we're hearing something we're not supposed to hear. And it was funny to, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like you
I
guys broke the fourth wall.
right. So reality was you can't bleed. He did bleed. We got the blood to stop. We were able to finish the match. So all is well. But we can't keep doing things like that for this reason. And when, this guy was the ref, I was the announcer. When he got out of the ring for the next match, and when I got done announcing the next match into the ring, I went to the back and talked to him, and he goes, "Man, did you mean to hot mic me?" Yeah, I did that intentionally, buddy, because we gave the crowd something they weren't supposed to have, so it made them feel more. Oh man, we're getting something we're not supposed to get. It invested them that much deeper into the
Right.
night,
Sure.
and everybody in the back was like, "Where did y'all find this guy?" Like, well, I mean, I'm not an idiot. I know occasionally you need to give them a little bit extra to get that extra investment out of them. So after the show was over, I must have had 20 fans come up to me and talk to me about that.
Oh man.
I was like, yeah, we were really telling you the truth. Doc's out of medical supplies, and Doc's standing over there with his bag half empty. He's like, this is not a game, guys. We're for real. So we were, we let him in a little bit, and it just made it that much more special for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like you pulled back the curtain
Right.
in a way. Yeah, I mean,
And
it's not.
occasionally that's fun.
Yeah, it is. Now
Right.
you've got a couple of podcasts. Tell me about those.
Man, so before I ever started, the ring announcing or any of that stuff, I had done live shows where I would go on air and talk about, WWE or whatever. And at first I didn't have a name for anything, but I would just go on Facebook Live and talk for an hour or two or three. And most of the time I was on the grill and a lot of the times I was drinking. Um, it was what I did. So I'd be out there cooking with my phone set up on the grill while I'm cooking and, doing whatever I'm doing. And we'd be talking wrestling back and forth with me and whoever was in the audience.
Mhm.
And that worked out. Early last year, I turned it into the Wrestling Wire. I'm a wire nut, so the Wrestling Wire made sense. And it also at that point stood for Week in Review, WIRE. So it made sense to me. So I went with that. It got to be 3.5 hours long covering independence and the big shows. I said, forget this. Thursday night indie spotlight was born. So I started doing Thursday night to promote everything coming up that weekend and beyond. And anything going on that weekend, their wrestlers or their promoters or their talent, anything they wanted would get brought up or brought on air. You have your chance. You want to talk your trash? Here. You want to cut something? Come on. You just want to get on and bump your gums? Hey, here's your invite. Send it. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing, about whatever you're a fan of, it's great to have that camaraderie, that bond that you share, whether it's wrestling or music or movies, and you let them be a part of the family. That's so amazing. So cool.
Right. And you bring up movies and music and things like that. That's actually one of the ways when I was working out in the field, we'll just call it out in the field. whenever I would walk into a customer's home, I'd be like, video games. There's something to talk about. There's an icebreaker, a common denominator, or you see a poster of Frank Sinatra, so you know what you're dealing with. You got a classic person. I would always find something somewhere to talk about to make them feel more comfortable with me. So when I tell them something, they take it to the bank.
Yeah.
And if they're, it's no different than being in front of the crowd. If the crowd doesn't believe what they're seeing from you, they're not going to buy into it. So if your audience, your customer, is not taking what you're saying serious, they're not going to believe you.
Right.
They think you're just some fool trying to get over on them and go on about your business.
It's all about adapting and changing and evolving and
Yeah,
trying to do whatever appeals and appeases the customers, your audience.
right.
That's
And
cool.
that's what I've done there, and that's what I did with the podcast. I split it into two separate worlds. So we're on any social media platform you can find, almost all of them. And we actually have a deal with Roku as well because of one of the promotions I work for has a streaming service. So whenever I go live doing one of the podcast shows or one of the special interview segments, I actually take over their network and I'm live on your Roku television.
Oh wow. Okay.
So everything comes through from the fan comments get brought up, and if an audience member asks a question, hey, wrestler A, what's your social media platform? They'll tell them, but also we'll take and dump it so that it's shared across Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. All of them get to see. It doesn't matter what channel you're watching on. The link is there. You can go grab it.
Very cool.
We make it all about accessibility.
That's what you got to do in this day and age is, just have something that you can share and follow. And,
Right.
that's how you get out there. So, great to hear that you're doing that. Why do you feel passionate about helping out in your community?
Uh, I'm not from here, so I don't have much that I'm drawn to do. But when it comes to things that I believe in, you know, the cancer stuff, the cancer benefits, I'm there. I've got kids, so I know that if I was in a situation where one of my kids was hurt, man, I'd be grateful that other people would do the same thing. I'm one of those people where I do unto others as I would like them to do unto me. Uh, I don't ride motorcycles, but I got friends and family that does. So while it's tragic that those two men lost their lives riding motorcycles, I was more than happy to be there to be an announcer for a charity show to benefit them. I'm good with that. The kids going to school, like I said, I got kids in school, and I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination. I don't pretend to be. If I was in a position where I needed that help, I'd be grateful that somebody put on a wrestling show to benefit all the kids in the community and put 150 book bags on students. That's how many kids that help, how many parents out there were like, oh, they get another week's worth of food instead of having to buy book bags for 3 kids.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it all goes hand in hand with one another.
Right.
That's what I think, we should do more of in the world is, help each other out and hear each other out.
Well, so I'm going to say this. I've got no problem helping anybody out. I never have. The problems that I have had were I've done things for people. I've handed people the tools. I've handed people the knives, and the moment they got a chance, it was in my back instead. That I don't appreciate. It is what it is, though. You can only do what you can do for somebody, and hope that they'll do the best they can. And it is what it is. The easy answer for me is the knife that went in my back also cut the tie that severed me to him.
Well, Ron, this has been wonderful getting to talk with you about your life and life in the wrestling business. Where can people find more about you and your show on social media?
All right. So you can find me, Ron Emerson Jr. is my name. You can find me there. You can find me under a page called The Saint. That is my admin name on The Real Wrestling Community, which is another Facebook page. There's two of them. There's The Real Wrestling Community, and there's PRWC Attitude. Those are predominantly it's memes, and a couple of us make live videos and things like that. We just try to generate buzz or talking points or whatever the case may be. If something's funny, we're going to make fun of it, especially me. And if you didn't think that I could make anything dirty, I promise you I probably can. That's been proven. You can find me on those. You can see me on Roku TV, on extremetvonline.com. On Roku, it'd be under Extreme World Wrestling. That's XWW. So Twitter, Twitch. I don't remember all the different names, but it's like The Saint, and there's TRWC. There might be an underscore there. I promise you, there's link trees on my Facebook stuff, so you can find me anywhere.
Yeah. All right. Glad to hear it. Hey, Ron, thanks again. Appreciate
thank
it.
you. Hey, no problem, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we'll be sure to you can share the video on your social media pages. I'll promote your show as well. And you're more than welcome to come back.
Oh, greatly appreciate it.
All right, take care.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.